Robert Redford is a name that stands tall in the history of American cinema. Calm, polished, and deeply professional, he's been part of Hollywood's golden conversations for decades. Audiences have loved him not only for his on-screen presence but also for the way he carried himself off-screen. Quiet, thoughtful, and rarely involved in drama, Redford earned a reputation as someone who worked with discipline and purpose. But behind his composed appearance was a man who had to navigate some very intense and sometimes messy relationships with other big names in the film industry. These weren't public fights or gossip-filled feuds. They were private battles. Professional tensions that shaped the way Redford worked and the choices he made. One of the most talked-about tensions Redford ever experienced was with Gene Hackman. The two shared the screen in Downhill Racer, and while their performances came across as smooth and effective, things behind the scenes were anything but. Hackman was known for being fiery, intense, and unpredictable. He brought a kind of energy that could either light up a scene or completely derail it. Redford, on the other hand, believed in precision, calmness, and teamwork. Their working styles were opposites, and it didn't take long for those differences to create serious friction. During the filming of Downhill Racer, Hackman once locked himself inside his trailer for nearly an hour, all because of a disagreement over lighting. Redford had to approach him personally and told him, "This isn't your movie, Gene. It's a team effort. Show up or step aside." Hackman did return to set, but the air between them was never the same. From that moment on, they never had a private conversation again. Redford once described Hackman as a sledgehammer in a violin shop, brilliant but careless with everything and everyone around him. Eventually, Redford began vetoing Hackman from any future projects he was involved in, often writing short notes beside his name, "Brilliant actor. Impossible human." Another interesting conflict came from someone Redford never even worked with fully, James Woods. Woods tried multiple times to land roles in Redford's films. Each time he got rejected. On paper, it looked like a simple casting decision. But behind the scenes, Redford was extremely uncomfortable with Woods. In one audition, Woods suddenly shifted the conversation from the script to Redford's opinions on the Vietnam War. The moment became tense, and Redford was stunned by how aggressive Woods became. Redford believed in quiet strength, but Woods brought loud confrontation. For Redford, that kind of energy was simply too much. He later wrote in his casting notes, "Never ever" beside Woods's name. Woods, in return, began criticizing Hollywood's hypocrisy in interviews. He never mentioned Redford directly, but many believed he was throwing indirect shade. Redford never responded. He believed that silence was stronger than throwing words back. Now, even working with someone as widely respected as Dustin Hoffman didn't guarantee smooth sailing. Their film All the President's Men is considered a classic, and their chemistry on screen was undeniable. But when the cameras weren't rolling, their work styles constantly clashed. Hoffman loved improvising. He would often change lines, switch up the energy, and go off script during scenes. Redford hated that. He wanted everything planned, every detail rehearsed. He found it difficult to keep the rhythm when Hoffman kept changing the tone. One specific scene, a simple phone call in a newsroom, turned into 7 takes because Hoffman delivered the lines differently each time. Redford had to react to something new every time, and it drove him up the wall. The director tried to balance both sides, but it became clear that the two stars weren't on the same page. Even after the film's success, Redford refused to do reunion panels or promotional appearances with Hoffman. When asked about it later, he said simply, "Once was enough." Things didn't get any easier when Redford stepped behind the camera to direct Tom Cruise in Lions for Lambs. At first, it looked like a perfect pairing. Redford, the symbol of meaningful cinema, and Cruise, the global superstar trying to build a more serious image. But from day one, Redford realized they were headed for a train wreck. Cruise came to the set with a full team of image consultants, publicists, and advisors. He wanted control over everything. His wardrobe, the lighting, the pacing, even the movie poster design. Redford believed in emotional honesty and quiet storytelling. Cruise, in contrast, acted more like a brand manager than a performer. Redford was stunned. He once asked, "Are we acting or selling a campaign ad?" Tension filled the air every day. Even during post-production, Cruise kept demanding new cuts of his scenes. Eventually, the studio sided with Cruise, and Redford stepped back. The movie didn't do well, and after that, the two never worked, or spoke, again. Redford's time with Faye Dunaway on 3 Days of the Condor also left a lasting impression, but not in a good way. Dunaway came to work prepared for battle. She questioned the director, challenged her co-stars, and demanded constant changes. She reviewed dailies every night, asked for rewrites, and insisted on adjusting the lighting to match her vision. Redford, who trusted the team and preferred letting the story breathe naturally, was frustrated. One day, during a private meeting, Dunaway started dissecting her character's emotional logic in such detail that Redford snapped. He said, "It's espionage, not Chekhov." That line summed up the disconnect between them. Even though their characters shared emotional scenes in the film, Redford requested a body double for insert shots once Dunaway finished her part. Years later, when asked about her, he said she was unforgettable. And that was all he was willing to say. It was clear they would never work together again. Then there was Robert Duvall, a man Redford respected but couldn't quite align with artistically. They teamed up for The Natural, and things got rough almost immediately. Duvall believed in acting with instinct. He liked to improvise, follow his gut, and bring raw energy into scenes. Redford, as usual, stuck to the script, wanting clean, planned execution. During one important scene, Redford asked Duvall to say his lines exactly as written. Duvall refused. The disagreement turned into a shouting match in front of the crew. Redford later explained it by comparing their styles. Duvall was jazz, and he was composition. For Redford, Duvall's approach created noise, not music. They finished the film, but never worked together again. What stands out in all these stories is how consistent Redford's values were. He wanted respect, calmness, preparation, and honesty. When he found those things, he flourished. But when he faced chaos, egos, or a lack of discipline, he quietly walked away. He didn't fight in public. He didn't start media wars. Instead, he made decisions that protected the kind of work environment he believed in. That often meant saying no to actors who many considered untouchable. But Redford believed that emotional truth and teamwork mattered more than fame. He also understood that filmmaking was not just about acting talent. It was about chemistry, trust, and a shared sense of purpose. That's why he often stayed loyal to collaborators who matched his energy and distanced himself from those who didn't. His casting choices, his directing style, and even the projects he said yes or no to were shaped by these experiences. Whether it was Hackman's explosive nature, Hoffman's unpredictability, Cruise's branding mindset, or Dunaway's control issues, Redford saw firsthand how difficult personalities could impact the final product. And yet, through it all, he never lost his sense of professionalism. He didn't write tell-all books. He didn't spill secrets in interviews. Instead, he allowed the work to speak for itself. And when he finally opened up, quietly and thoughtfully, it wasn't to expose or insult. It was to share the reality behind the magic of Hollywood. A reality where not every legend is easy to work with, and where even the greatest films can be born out of silent tension. Redford's reflections remind us that behind every polished performance and powerful scene, there are people with clashing visions, strong opinions, and difficult emotions. It's easy to assume that success in Hollywood is all about talent and charm, but Redford's story shows there's so much more to it. It's about navigating egos, standing your ground, and knowing when to walk away. It's about protecting your creative space, even if it means saying goodbye to some of the biggest names in the industry. For fans who always saw Redford as the calm, smiling presence on screen, this deeper look adds a new layer. It shows just how much patience, discipline, and quiet strength it took to build the kind of career he has. Not by chasing the spotlight or battling enemies in the press, but by staying true to his values. In the end, that might be Redford's greatest strength. Not just his performances, but the way he handled the pressure behind them. If you found this insight into Robert Redford's career fascinating, make sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe for more behind-the-scenes Hollywood stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Which one of these behind-the-scenes clashes surprised you the most? Let us know below. We read every comment and love hearing your take on these legendary tales.